What's up, y'all? Drake's Revenge here. Welcome to the channel. As this is the first video on my channel, I wanted to briefly let y'all know I will be posting regularly and streaming in the near future as well. We will be mostly doing gacha content, but there might be a bit of variety here and there. We'll see. But yeah, I'm going to be covering whatever gachas I'm currently playing, and right now that's Zenless Zone Zero, Wuthering Waves, and PGR. However, I'm also trying out a lot of newer gachas that are interesting to me. Currently, just tried out Uma Musume, very hype. I gotta say that game kind of took me off guard. So, as I really wasn't into horse racing, girls, but it's pretty hype. So, yeah, I'm gonna be trying out NTE hopefully in the near future, and any of those bigger new gacha games, I'm probably gonna be giving a shot. So, I can't say I'll stick with all of them, but I want to at least make a first impressions kind of thing. So yeah, with that being said, let's get on into the video. So Saintontas recently had a clip that started to circulate a bit in the gacha space, in particular in the PGR community this time around. And we all know Saint can be a bit, let's just say, harsh in his words, and while I definitely don't agree with his takes all the time, as has been on full display in the past. This one I really wanted to talk about because I feel like some PGR players are taking offense to something that's really just kind of true at the end of the day. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the clip.
I'm gonna be honest. A lot of people say that PGR has like the best combat ever. I don't think it's that good. I mean, I'm just gonna be real with you. I think people saying PGR has the best combat ever are like I think they're actually on drugs, straight up. I actually think they're on drugs. It's some of the most like scripted stuff ever. It's combat Guitar Hero. Yeah, you literally just press the orbs in the right order and then like go from there. I don't really think it's that. I don't think it's that good.
Okay, so now that we've heard the clip, I gotta say I agree with most of this take except for the last little bit of him saying, I don't think it's that good, referring to the PGR combat, right? And you know what? That's fine. That's his opinion, and he's entitled to it. I think PGR has some incredibly fun and flashy combat with great character designs and some pretty unique kits. But I'll be honest, the latest Omni frames really do just come down to pressing the orbs in the right order, and that's made even easier than ever now, with some frames giving you colorless orbs that you can choose how to spin them how you like, or others that limit what type of orbs you can get in certain forms that the character may be in, and some that do a bit of both. And for a bit of background, I've been playing PGR since Alpha Crimson Weave's release on Global a little over a year and a half ago. I did take a bit of a break, but came back around the BlackRock Shooter collab, and have been playing regularly ever since. And I've invested a good bit of money into the game as well. I'm definitely not a free-to-play player by any means. I have completed all the hardest content the game has to offer, and know how to play most of the teams and their rotations outside of the newer affix ones. I haven't taken the time to learn those just yet. But yeah, I know a good bit about the game, and while I do find PGR combat very fun and flashy, and I think that's a huge selling point of the game, I think that what's missing from the game at large today, compared to Zenless Zone Zero and Wuthering Waves, that prevents it from being considered the quote-unquote best by a lot of people, is the lack of interactions and the dance that you go through, especially with bosses. In both Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero, you have to actively look for parries and be ready to dodge if you are unable to parry a boss's attack, right? You see this with like the gold slash yellow flashes in Zenless Zone Zero, and you see like the little circle icon and Wuthering Waves when a boss's action can be parried, right? So this back and forth, this dance, as I kind of refer to it as, makes it feel more engaging, and frankly does just require a bit more skill of the players. The biggest skill you need in PGR, by comparison, you just need to learn your rotation. And while that can take a bit of time, just like a fighting game combo, once you get it down, it's pretty simple, right? It just becomes basic muscle memory. And then after that, really all you do is just press the orbs in the right order, kind of like Saint mentioned. Um, I'll be honest, I couldn't tell you the last time I actually tried to dodge in Warzone or the Phantom Pain Cage. As you'll probably see in some of the footage in the background, I just press the orbs I need to press and everything just kind of explodes. And look, that's fun, but it's definitely more of a power fantasy type of hack and slash action game that doesn't require players to be as familiar with the boss patterns comparatively to Wuthering Waves. A little bit less so in Zenless Zone Zero, but there is definitely some trickier boss patterns and some of the newer bosses in Zenless as well. Now, I know some people were talking about semantics when it came to him saying, some people are saying PGR combat has the best combat in any gacha versus any game. And again, I think that's a bit of a silly take. He was clearly talking about gacha. This is where there's a lot of reaching for things that just because it's Saint and Saint equals bad, I guess, in so many people's eyes. And that's something that just kind of annoys me, right? I think just call a spade a spade. I don't think, one person is, terrible for the space or anything like that. PGR at this point for me is solely for the flashy combat, as my account is pretty good at this point, and like I said, I've beaten the game, quote unquote. It is a game though that I do enjoy, but if there's a new gacha that comes out that I really like, well, again, I think PGR is the first game on the chopping block for me as far as gachas to be replaced, because it's towards the end of its hype, especially after this Devil May Cry collab that we have coming up, which, by the way, looks incredible. Probably going to be one of the best collabs in gacha gaming, at least for a very long time. I know HSR is about to have their Fate collab, but I'm sorry, it just can't compare, right? The DMC collab that we've seen, there's so much love and care put into that. Really looking forward to being able to experience that on global here very soon. But yeah, and then there's this other clip that also recently got posted with Saint talking about the PGR community.
With PGR, the only people that are left playing the game at this point and actually talking about it are those like Giga elitists, and that's the only discourse that happens surrounding the game. Genuinely, like there's really no other discourse surrounding the game. The only time it ends up being talked about outside of like its close-knit communities is when they're just shit-talking people for playing it. That's literally what they're known for. Like, the first thing that people will talk about when, like, a new kid is released is like, oh, it looks like these casual noobs won't be able to play this character. Oh, this character looks too complex for those casuals to be able to play her. It's just like, okay, bro.
So, yeah, this clip is about talking about the rampant elitism in the PGR community. Something else I frankly also agree with, and something I've tried to change a bit since I started getting into the game, because I also experienced a lot of that same elitism when I first started. And I feel like I've done a good bit to try to help with that. I feel like I've tried to help players give the game a shot, and if they have any questions, answer them, or at the very least point them towards someone that can answer their question. However, like I said, there are a lot of elitist players in this community who don't care about the new player experience or even want new players at all, to be quite honest. And I feel like they're, I guess, afraid of these quote-unquote tourists coming in and somehow ruining their 4-plus-year-old gacha. And frankly, that's just a pretty retarded way to look at it. I'm always honest when people ask me about the game and let them know that the beginning can be kind of rough. The early chapters are not very well polished, and you have to play with some of the older units that feel quite rough to play, to say the least. But I've always said, though, too, if you stick with it, I think it's a great gacha to play, and I still believe that to this day. There's a lot to like about the game. It's very free-to-play friendly. Like I said, there's a lot of flash, and frankly, I think the character designs are quite peak still. What I don't think we should be doing, though, is discouraging new players from giving the game a chance and calling people idiots, like Saint was describing in this clip here, because Kuro wants to write short novels in their character kits and make them extremely convoluted, not just in PGR but in WoWA as well. Now, luckily, they have been getting better with their trials, but regardless, the PGR community does need to stop being so gatekeepy and frankly cringe when it comes to people criticizing the game. I think that's always an issue, and not just PGR, but in a lot of gacha. But I've seen it so much when it comes to PGR. I think just because it is such an old and established game at this point, but yeah, it really does get old because I would like to see people at least give the game a chance and see if it's for them or not. But some of these older players in particular do make it quite difficult. um, with all that being said, do you guys think PGR has the best combat in all of gacha, or do you think it's a game that forces more of those interactions that I mentioned earlier, like Zenless Zone Zero or Wuthering Waves? Be sure to let me know in the comments down below. I might be getting canceled for this one right off the bat by the PGR community, but hey, I just try to call things as I see it. Anyways, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more gacha content like this, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.